What is going on, everybody? Been a diehard Pistons fan since 2003 and starting to get cautiously optimistic about this Pistons team. The Detroit Pistons got an amazing win last night in Sacramento as they beat the Kings 114 to 113. In this video, we are going to go through, talk about three key players I want to highlight, go over the game in general, and just kind of discuss the entirety of this West Coast trip because as of right now, things are going about as good as they possibly can out west. So, the first guy that we do need to highlight should be obvious if you watched even just the ending of this game, and it is J.I. the science guy, Jaden Ivey, who hit a huge game-winning 4-point play as he went ahead and knocked down a corner three, down three with 3 seconds left, and then walked up to the line and hit the additional free throw. Jaden Ivey finished the game with 19 points on 7 of 13 shooting, 6 rebounds, no assists, 3 turnovers. All in all, not concerned with the stat line one bit because he hit the biggest shot of the night and one of the biggest shots of the year for the Detroit Pistons. I always put a lot of stock in guys who are able to perform in the clutch. In the NBA, is the nature of it. A lot of it comes down to executing at the end of games. There's a lot of professionals in this league. Games are going to be close, and a lot of times that's what makes the difference, is who can perform in the clutch, and Jaden Ivey was able to do that last night as well as he possibly could have. Credit to him to not only make the shot, but also be able to make the free throw. There was a long break in between the time where he actually made the three and shot the free throw. He was kind of getting iced like a kicker as the Pistons had to wait for the rest to review. I think they were looking at whether it was actually a 2 or 3, but there was a solid minute and some change real time in between the actual shot going down and the free throw. So all the credit to him for making the free throw as well, because if he were to have missed that, we likely would have been looking at overtime, and I think we've all had enough overtime in our lives as Pistons fans this year. So moving on, the second player that we do need to highlight is going to be Malik Beasley, because Malik Beasley was one of, if not the biggest reason why the Pistons were even in chance to be able to have a game-winning shot. And that's because in the fourth quarter, as the Pistons fought and crawled back into this game, Malik Beasley was able to knock down some big-time shots. He finished the game with 22 points on 7 of 16 shooting from the floor, 6 of 11 from behind the three-point line. I've said it many times before, and I'll say it again. This team goes as far as Malik Beasley allows it to at times. It is very difficult for the Pistons to perform at their top standard unless Malik Beasley is doing Malik Beasley things, and that's really just him knocking down threes. Last night at halftime, the Pistons were down by a good bit, and at halftime, Tim Hardaway Jr. was 1 of 4 from the three-point line, and Malik Beasley was 1 of 4 from the three-point line. So that just really emphasizes that it's really important for either Malik Beasley or Tim Hardaway to get hot at some point during each game if the Pistons want to have a chance to win. And thankfully, Malik Beasley picked a good time to get hot last night in the fourth quarter where he did most of his damage. So the next player that I do want to highlight, and the last player that I do want to highlight from this game, is going to be Cade. Cade finishes the game with another crazy counting box score, 33 points, 4 boards, and 10 assists. He only had 3 turnovers, which is very good to see. He was slightly inefficient shooting from the floor, 9 of 24, but where he did do well was behind the three-point line, 4 of 11, and at the free throw line, 11 for 12. 12 free throws is probably the most that Cade has had in a game this season, so that's really good to see. And if you're able to score 33 points on 24 shots, I have a pretty hard time calling that inefficient, even though that if you just look at it in a very basic way, that is 37% from the floor. But when you're able to get to the line that much and a lot of the shots that you're taking are three-pointers, don't read too much into the field goal 9 for 24 because, as I said, if you're able to score 33 points on 24 shots, we will take that every single night of the week. So all in all, another good game for Cade. It's pretty crazy that this feels like just an average game for Cade, but he finishes with 33, 4, and 10. So that's just all-star numbers at work. It's pretty crazy that we've come to a point where The average Cade game is 25, 8, and 10, flirting with a triple-double, flirting with a 30-point game every single night. It's very, very good that we have a star on our basketball team, and that star's name is Cade Cunningham. So to kind of just talk about the game in general, there's a couple things about this game in particular that are very encouraging outside of the fact that, it brings the record up to 14 and 17, matches our win total from last year already before we even hit the new year, puts us in the 9th seed in the East. But there's more to it than that, and I think one of the biggest takeaways that is encouraging from this game for me is just the fact that the Pistons have shown time and time again that they're able to fight back into games. The Pistons were down 19 points at one point in this game. The majority of the game, they were playing from behind. A lot of times in previous years, if the Pistons went down 19 points, you could expect the team to roll over. That was it for the night. You could start looking forward to seeing the two-way guys getting some playing time and the benches getting cleared early. But that's not the case whatsoever anymore. If the Pistons go down, they almost always find a way to get back into the game and make it a competitive game, which is one of the main reasons why the Pistons have had so many nail-biting games this year already. It's really encouraging because, like I said, they used to roll over, and even a lot of times if they don't get all the way back into it to the point where they win, they still make an attempt to fight back. And when you do that, you do give yourself a chance to win, and things like last night can happen. We look back to the Utah Jazz game, what was that, 3 games ago now, where the Pistons did get beat, but they were down by 30 points at the end of the first quarter. The game was not a 30-point game by the time it was all said and done. They had a real chance to win that game, and that's because of the exact same thing that happened against the Kings, is if they do happen to go down big, they're able to fight and claw back into these games, which is super important, especially in today's NBA where teams are going to get hot. Teams shoot tons of three-pointers, and at any point in time, they can get hot. Even the worst teams in the league can do that, like the Jazz, who came out 8 of 10 from 3 on their first 10 attempts, and that just doesn't seem to faze the Pistons. In previous years where they would roll over in those situations, call it a night, that's not the case anymore. JB gets them regrouped, they go back out, and they find a way to get back into these games, which is just a super encouraging sign, especially for a younger team, in my opinion. All in all, I couldn't be more happy with the way this West Coast trip has gone. I think before the West Coast trip officially started on this channel, I was talking about how if we're able to go 2-2 out there, I would be super, super happy. But I was more or less expecting a 1 of 3 or potentially losing all 4. Right now, we've won our first 3 games out west, beat the Lakers, beat the Suns, we beat the Kings now back to back to back. And that's just awesome because a lot of times when you're an East Coast team that's not elite, you can go out west and kind of unravel and lose yourself. The Pistons have done the exact opposite of that. They've won 3 in a row, all out west. And also encouraging that after this West Coast trip, they're going to be back in Detroit playing a lot of home games against a lot of teams that are on paper easier than these teams that we played out west and a lot of the teams that we have played in the month of December. So let me know what you guys think. I'm pretty happy about this. Things are going pretty well right now. So let me know if you agree, and we'll catch up soon.